We get started in about a minute and a half. Welcome, everybody. Just about ready. Letting people come in. All righty. Well, we're going to get started because our time together is kind of brief. So hello and welcome to the New Year Wellness Series, packed with meaningful guidance on spiritual, relational, emotional, nutritional, physical, and mental wellness. I'm Robin Rubin, founder of the Robin Rubin Center for Happiness and Life Enhancement. The center is housed in the Sandler School of Social Work within the College of Social Work and Criminal Justice at FAU. We offer weekly wellness programming free of charge and conveniently online. Students, faculty, staff, friends, and family are all welcomed and encouraged to attend all calendar events, which include meditations on Tuesdays and Fridays, as well as special events like this one. The Robin Rubin Center for Happiness and Life Enhancement is pleased to co-sponsor this series with our friends at the Marcus Institute of Integrative Health at FAU Medicine. Integrative health is a holistic, patient-focused approach to healthcare and wellness. At the Marcus Institute, their physicians treat the whole person by examining everything that makes up a patient's health, including factors that can lead to disease, affect nutrition, exercise, and stress. Ultimately, patients and physicians are partners in healing and wellness. We're posting links in the chat now. Invite you to learn more about the Robin Rubin Center and the Marcus Institute and make plans to join us again in the near future. Sorry about my puppy dog. It is now my pleasure to introduce today's wellness expert, Rondina. Ellen is a licensed master social worker and has more than 30 years of professional music performance experience, more than 25 years of music teaching, social service work, advocacy, facilitation, curriculum, program design, and administration, professional coaching and wellness work, and 15 years working in community education and higher education. She doesn't look that old. I can't believe she's done all of that. Her work exists at the crossroads of social justice and art and social justice and wellness. She is committed to providing the space, intention, insight, and support that allows for people and communities to have conversations that empower each other's wellness and personal growth. Her professional style is collaborative, social-constructivist, experientially-based approach. She creates safe spaces where all ideas are welcomed and respected. Critical thinking is encouraged and expected, and creative approaches to problem solving are honed. She sees her role as a teacher as that of a facilitator and model to guide students to think broadly. In this way, they learn to teach themselves. Ellen, thank you so much for being here with us today. Take it away.
Thank you, Robin, and I'm so glad to see everybody here today. I'm going to share my screen and start the presentation. And if for some reason there's something that you can't see or doesn't show up correctly, just let me know and we're going to start. So my session of this series is spiritual wellness. I think typically the least covered of the, wellness wheel. Stay with me here as we navigate. Okay, perfect. The technology. Okay, so living your why. And I'll explain in this presentation kind of where that comes from. But, why does our why matter? We focus much more on the what and the how than we do of the why. But the why really speaks to our spirit. It speaks to our unique gifts, our contributions, and also simultaneously, while we're here giving of ourselves, we are also learning, right? We're trying to figure out what our lessons are and hopefully learning from them. So spiritual wellness is really being in rhythm with what we are here to give as well as our lessons. This little Simon Sinek, we don't have time to do the video, but I'm happy to send it to anybody, came up with this idea of the golden circle. And this idea of moving from the inside out. And this example of the golden circle is specifically for business, but I've kind of adapted it for wellness on a number of different levels. And so this idea that if we live from the inside out and focus on our why, that we're going to be much more in spiritual alignment. So what does that mean, right? So what are you deeply passionate about? What are you best at? What are your gifts? And I'm going to get you to think about this and do some work today. So if you have a pen and paper, that would be ideal. And if somebody on the team is keeping track of chat and there are some questions that come up, please do let me know that. Okay. So Ikigai is a Japanese concept. The concept is reason for being. I love this model. And you can see this figure with Ikigai in the center and all of the pieces around it that overlap there, right? So what are we good at? And hopefully what we're good at and our passion, what we love, what the world needs, all comes together in some reason for being, right? So to me, this is definitely tied in with living your why. It doesn't have to be something that you can be paid for, right? It can fall in anywhere that fits for you, but living your why really comes down to our values, right? So our behaviors are the outward expression of our values, right? I love this quote from Elvis Presley. Values are like fingerprints. Nobody's are the same, but you leave them over everything you do, right? So spiritual wellness is aligning our values with our actions so that we're in rhythm with our highest selves. Okay, this is another way to think about it. Is there a question? Okay, so I'm going to take you through a process today of really doing some writing and some work and thinking about your core values and what guides your life and your decisions. So a value is the regard that something is held to observe, the importance, the worth, or usefulness of something, a person's principles or standards of behavior, one's judgment of what is important in life. And so when we take the time to really figure out what our core values are, then our decisions, dare I say, can be so much easier and we can be more in alignment. So that's what we're going to do. So hopefully you can take out a piece of paper and a pen or a Word doc, whatever works for you, and do a brainstorm. I'm just going to take a couple of minutes to do this brainstorm so that you can write a list of what you value. This is not the time to edit or censor yourself. This is a brainstorm. I'm definitely going to offer some suggestions. And I'm just going to kind of talk through it, but I want you to start thinking about what you value. This is not the time to limit yourself. You write it all down and see what comes up, right? So things like ethics, excellence, diversity, inclusivity, friends, free time, honesty, sustainability, fun, cleanliness, simplicity, hope, health, compassion. It can run the gamut of things that are tangible, things that are more elusive, things that have to do with self, things that have to do with others. So our values can encompass all different aspects of who we are as humans, what we experience, ways that we spend our time. So think about that and just spend a minute and look at the clock, and we'll take a minute to do that. This is another great quote by Roy Disney. It's not hard to make decisions once you know what your values are. I would say it's not as hard to make decisions once you know what your values are. Part of spiritual wellness, of course, is mindfulness. And mindfulness has become really a buzzword. And there's a lot of books and workshops that are focused on mindfulness in terms of our wellness. But it does tap into this idea of knowing what our values are, because when we have a decision to make, and it can be a very small decision, just an everyday decision of even about what to wear. I value being comfortable. It's not a top value, but it's definitely important. And I want to feel good when I move out in the world. And so if I get dressed and I don't feel comfortable, I'll change. I'm not going to stress about that because I know how important it is to feel comfortable throughout the day, for instance. So it can be something that seems really simple. Nobody is really caring. There's no money attached to it. There's nothing else that's of particular importance of that decision, but it can help with fluidity and staying in rhythm, which can really help with spiritual alignment. Oops, sorry about that. Okay. How's everybody doing? Anybody have any questions? Can look in the chat briefly. I don't see anything. Okay. And the next activity I'm going to have you do is, what are your strengths? What are your gifts? These are often closely aligned with our values. So, and one way to think about this, and again, I want you to write this down, kind of keep track of this, and it's a brainstorm. What are your successes? We can look to our successes to see if our values are embedded there, because they often are reflected in our successes. And of course, it depends on how you define success, right? So you can look at that broadly. What have you been in? When have you been in rhythm with your best self? You can maybe close your eyes, think about a time where you maybe felt light. The burdens of every day weren't overwhelming you. Maybe a time where you were received an accolade for something. Maybe a compliment that you get on a regular basis that has to do with a strength or a gift of yours, something that you're offering in the world. What behaviors do you value in others? Oftentimes that can mirror a strength and gift in ourselves. What do you value about your favorite company or a business or restaurant? And how does that align with your strengths and gifts? What makes you feel good about yourself? What has made your best job the best? So take a minute. I'm just looking at the time. We have plenty of time. And think about your strengths and gifts. Once you brainstorm, we are going to move this to the next level. So in terms of highlighting or synthesizing this information or determining your top 3, don't worry about that. So just brainstorm. Okay, so I'm going to stop the share for a minute and we're going to go back there. But I would love for folks to participate here and share what they came up with for values and or strengths and gifts. So if anybody would like, you can do that in the chat, or you can come off of mute and share. It looks like we only have a couple of people on video, but you can feel free to pop on video and then pop right back off. But I'd love to hear anybody's share. If you're willing. Robin.
So for values, I came up with family, relationships, kindness, social justice, helping others. I value physical wellness, healthy eating. I value, those are a lot of the things I value. And when you started to talk about strengths, I kind of got a little bit stuck, but then you said something like, what do you value in others? And I value, when people are thoughtful. I think that is so, I value kindness. And I also do think that that's one of my strengths as well. I also like helping other people be their best self. So that's kind of what I came up with.
Thank you. Thank you. And I see lots of great stuff coming into the chat. Honesty, intrinsic motivation. Love that, Sarah. Values, family, health, friends, free time. Myself. Love that, Deborah. Giving, responsibility, patience, compassion, being grounded. Lisa values learning. Yes, absolutely. Perfect. Problem solving. Thanks, Susan. That's a great one. Strengths. Thoughtfulness and kindness. Inner peace. All right, Susan, you're up next for the next workshop on inner peace. Gratitude. Ashley says gratitude, acceptance, and openness. Yes. Thanks, Susan, for popping up on camera. This morning on my walk, I was thinking about peace, peace and what was the other thing? Now I can't even remember. Peace and stability. And I'm thinking, I wonder if those are opposite things. I wonder if you can have peace if you don't have stability. I wonder if stability comes with peace or peace comes with stability. And that was my kind of thought process this morning, and whether it's elusive or whether we can really attain that. So thanks, Susan, for putting that up there.
I was also going to add like conflict avoidance, which kind of fits into that. That's a big one for me.
Okay. All right. Love. Thank you for that. Yes. Love, peace of mind. Absolutely. Humor. That's an important one. Sarah says emotional intelligence. Beautiful. Okay. So a lot of values. Not as much sharing on what are your strengths and gifts, which is arguably a harder question to answer. Whenever I ask that question, whether it's individually in a group, one of the ways that we can really come to those answers is thinking about what people see in us. If we can't quite name it for ourselves, what do other people say you're good at? right? What do people come to you for? Where do the compliments come from, or the accolades, right? And so looking back to successes, and of course, if I look at all these values, right, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the way most of us probably define success is not financial, not typical, right? Maybe like financial or some other status. So if we're talking about honesty and humor and peace of mind and friendships, then success is going to revolve around those values, right? And so if you think about your values and how you embody them and how you express those values through your behaviors, you will find on the other side of that what you are good at. All right, so Deborah's strengths: generous, lovable, encouraging, hardworking. Yes. Cleverness, Joseph, I love it. Friendliness, knowledge, wisdom. Yeah. And sharing your light, sharing what you're good at. We don't get to do that very often. We're always, we have to sort of downplay or not talk about ourselves, right? We do it sometimes in secret if we have to apply for something, but, even then it kind of feels very funny. But talking about it openly with a whole bunch of people saying, yeah, I'm really good at this, right, is harder to do, but it lifts everybody up. And we can really tap into that and then encourage others to do the same. So I appreciate all of you going out here on chat and listing all your strengths. It's beautiful. Research-oriented, detail-oriented, trustworthy. Yes. Creative. Art advocate. See? Love it. I love it. Okay, so keep thinking. I am going to go back to, if I can manage this, I'm going to go back to share, and we're going to go to the next thing, which is thinking about an equation, right? Spiritual wellness, living your why. Simon Sinek has an equation that values times behavior is culture. And again, from a business perspective, right? Looking at a business and thinking about values and the outward expression of those values, which comes in the form of behavior, equals the culture of an organization. And so in my self-care book, I took that equation and changed it to values times behavior equals self-care. Okay, so today I'm using that same equation because I think it really works well. Values times behavior is living your why. And living your why is part of a very big part of spiritual alignment, right? So as we give our best selves in line with our values, we can be mindful to learn our lessons, right? When we have a decision to make, we can ask ourselves, does it match my values, right? Which decision do I make? Does it match? Which one matches my values, right? Is it in alignment with my why? Is it really what I want or need? Will it make me feel good, or will it put me in a state of dis-ease? Those questions are much easier when we can really see this equation play out. And so I'm going to ask you to write your own personal values statement, right? So we do a lot of this very intentional, methodical work, typically from a business perspective, right? So we do statements all the time, mission statements, vision statements. But what about a value statement? You'll find that for companies and organizations that have value statements, their product and outcome is very different. So I actually have some examples. Let me see if I can find them very quickly of values statements from different organizations. We operate by the following guiding principles: honesty, integrity, customer service, quality, diversity, and innovation. We value equitable collaboration. These are all different ones. Here's another one. We value the uniqueness of people, perspectives, and abilities. We value inspiration and a vision for all the good that is possible. Can you imagine working for that organization? We value environmental responsibility. Those really speak to this idea of living from the inside out, right? That it's from your why that everything flows. So what I want you to do now, and I'm mindful of the time, I think we're still okay, is to sketch out at least a first draft of a value statement, a personal value statement, right? So you have your brainstorm list of values, you have a brainstorm list of your gifts and talents and unique contributions to the world. And so this process can really help you determine your why, right? It's a tool for how you can live your life, what decisions you make, how you feel about yourself, and really put your values into practice, right? Your values being your why. Okay, what do you hold to be true and what you believe in? And so the evidence of that is really in the behaviors and life choices that you make. And that can really flow from this concrete process. So I'm going to give everybody a minute, and then I would love for some shares. So take some time to do this. Also keeping in mind that this process is not finite, right? This isn't, it's not going to be perfect. There's no such thing. And so just chicken scratch some ideas, and maybe you have several ideas and you can poke through and, better clarify that another time. It's also something that might change in 5 years or 10 years, depending on your life and lived experiences. So this is right here, right now, right? As a human being. And so just take a minute. I'm just going back through and looking at this great stuff in the chat. I don't know if it's Jean or Jeannie. I value those that can think out mindfulness in action. Hear, hear. Anybody like to share their draft of a value statement? What have you got? It doesn't have to be fully formed, just an idea. Go ahead, Robin.
I don't want to take the time, but if no one else is going to share. So one of my values all center around families, relationships, and helping others. So because I value family relationships and helping others, my behavior, because that's what you said, our values plus your behavior, I love to teach, and I make sure that I'm always present for my family and my friends. And that makes me feel like I'm living my truth, and I'm living my why, because my values kind of match my behaviors. And what really resonated with me is that if your values and your behaviors don't match, that's when you don't feel like you're living your truth. And, so when you think of that opposite part of it, but when they do match, it's like, wow, this is so cool.
Mm-hmm. 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 Absolutely. Thank you, Robin, for sharing that. Yes, so there's some things in the chat. I value creative expression and using it to help my community. I'm committed to pursuing a lifelong journey of learning, growing, and evolving, serving others, and shining my light in mind, body, and spirit. My values are focused around caring for, helping others, compassion, kindness, and resourcefulness. I value honesty, integrity, patience, and a willingness to examine problems from multiple viewpoints. Love that. I am an ethical, trustworthy, kind, compassionate Jewish vegan, an empathic human who values family, health, animals, the environment, friendship, and my wonderful job, which is filled with honor. Love that. Yes. Oh, Denise, you went in a different direction. I love that. I want to be remembered by my family and friends as a person grounded in decency, simple goodness, inspiring enthusiasm. I will live committed to personal improvement and devoted to my family. Yes, 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 yes. I value family, honesty, love, integrity, compassion, a sense of community, exercise, nutrition, well-being of mind, body, and spirit. Yes, beautiful, beautiful. So keep it coming on 12:31. So it's my time to zip it. My last slide, which I'm not going to put up, just says, now what, right? So what's next? So if there was anything today, you know, I'm mindful of the fact that for these sorts of workshops, they generally invite like-minded folks who've done some of this work before. And so my hope is that through, you know, being able to share some of this and action, I'm always hoping for action, right? So maybe there's a light bulb, maybe there was an aha, maybe there was something that triggered something new, or maybe there's a new direction to go in for you, or maybe it's just about writing it down. That can help with, again, not just big decisions, right? But everyday small decisions that when we're feeling like we're living our why, more often than not, that we can find that kind of elusive peace of mind, right? That's what I have for you.
Mute myself. That was fabulous. Wow. Before we take your questions, we're adding a link in the chat to a brief survey. Please just take 1 minute to share your feedback for today's event. Just take you a minute. Your feedback is really important to us. We'll wait another couple of seconds for you to do it. And then we're going to dive into your questions. Do you have any questions for Ellen? Let's go to the chat box. Okay, so the survey is there. Do we have any questions? Do we?
I have a question. Hey, Ellen, thank you so much for that great presentation. I'm curious, you know, I see a lot of familiar faces and names on this call, and we're obviously, everybody who's here we're all wanting to better ourselves, right? And you give such fabulous advice and way to add structure to our thinking. Do you have recommendations for just practical ways we can do the work, right? We're coming to these sessions but then we wake up or we log off and we go back to our jobs, we wake up and do our normal day, but actually proactively doing the work. Any practical tips you have would be very, very appreciated.
Thanks, Catherine. You want the magic bullet? What is that what you're asking me for? Right?
You got it.
Okay, so now what? Honestly, for one, it's time, right? It takes time to develop that, because I think for me, the magic is in living this way as often as possible for as many decisions as possible during the day, right? Every decision, how you wake up in the morning, right? So developing the mindfulness that allows us to do that, right? So if the alarm goes off, is it snooze or is it get right up? Is it meditate or is it take a walk? Is it, you know, wear the fancy clothes because you just need that energy, or is it wear like your most comfortable thing that day? Is it all black or is it color? Is, you know, what do you eat for breakfast? It's literally every single decision all day. The mindfulness that allows for that keeps us super present. And every decision that we can do, knowing that this is exactly what I need right now, keeps us, grounded, right? And so, and the only way to get to that point is time, because you can't just decide, okay, I'm just going to do that as often as possible. There are tips though to sort of get there, right? Things like, little things like every time you see the color green, right? You can tap into that moment, right? Every time you see the color green, or every time you see a clock, or you can tie a string around your finger, and every time you catch that in your, peripheral vision, you stop, right? And whether it's taking a breath, right? Okay, am I doing exactly what I want and need to be doing, in this moment? If not, can I take a breath and make a different decision? Right. And so for me, that's how, it's decades, right? Decades and decades, and getting to the point where most of the time, not all, and I don't expect ever to be all, but most of the time, I'm present enough to be very intentional about the decisions that I'm making, small and big, right? And so I think it's the sort of, refining over time. And the tips, other than the big practice stuff, right, which is learning and practicing, mindfulness and behaving based on your values, is something like that, right? Like having some way of reminding yourself to stay in that moment as often as possible, and that you can set up for yourself.
Thank you.
I hope that helps.
It does tremendously. Thank you.
Sounds like you're recommending, instead of operating on autopilot, it can be helpful to think through our daily routines and decisions a bit more mindfully and intentionally throughout the day. Yes. I know I just gave this example recently in another workshop, but I have all my earrings in they're not organized. They're just in this little box. And I don't have a lot, but they get jumbled and confused in there. And usually I'll be thinking about what I want to wear for earrings, and I'll go in there, but I pretty much whatever I see, right? So if I find one and I can't find the match, but another match is obvious and jumping out at me, I'll just take that match and put it on. So that kind of mindfulness, right? That kind of like paying attention to what's easy, to what's in the flow, to what's calling my attention. There's also, in that, there's also this idea of like not holding on to something too tightly. Maybe that's just not the pair of earrings I was meant to wear today, right? And so as sort of trite as that might sound, being that attentive to kind of being in rhythm makes for a much nicer day, right? And so we can sort of take accountability for those kinds of things. And also it helps us to feel, it's silly because being less in control helps us to feel more in control.
So true. Okay. Learning to let go and be in the present moment, clearing the clutter. My 2022 mantra. Yes, that sounds awesome. I love it.
Yeah, that's good, because learning to let go is my life mantra. That's my never mind 2022. It's great.
So we are just about out of time, and I wanted to share 2 quick notes before we go. One, Ellen, thank you so much for being here today. Please let people know in the chat box where they can find out more about you and the work that you do and that you've done. So put that in the chat box for us. Also, this Wednesday Wellness series will go on for another 5 weeks. Mark your calendars for next week, which is same time, same place, and we will talk about emotional wellness. Actually, I will be talking about emotional wellness and how to cultivate gratitude and joy. We recommend creating a reminder on your calendar along with the access link. That way you preserve the time and have a built-in reminder. You can find our access link in your email confirmation that you received when you registered for today's event. Like I said, same time, same place, and same link, trying to make it as simple as possible. A big thank you again to the Robin Rubin Center for Happiness and Life Enhancement and to the Marcus Institute for Integrative Health at FAU Medicine for co-sponsoring this fantastic series. And we hope to see you. I hope to see you all next Wednesday. Enjoy the rest of your day.